hear the first-hand experiences of how we got here, the immigration process, and our experiences living in Canada here as
So let's get into my story. As some of you may know, my name is Kristina. I'm from Jamaica and I studied architecture at the University of Technology, Jamaica. What prompted my desire to even go to Canada in the first place? Why am I here? It was just so pretty and it was just like in the movies, you know what I mean? It was really a friend of mine who prompted the conversation that said, you know what, we're almost finished school here and I don't know, it doesn't feel very hopeful in terms of our earning potential because, you know, we had just come back from working in California on the work and travel program. And you know, you make a couple thousand US and you're like, if I worked here for a summer in Jamaica, I wouldn't have made that much money. So we kind of like the US dollars. What about Canada? And at the time, and even now still, Canada's immigration processes are very welcoming. It's very encouraging because there's always ads here and there about come to Canada, come and live in Canada, come and work in Canada. And way more encouraging than other countries that in my experience, right? What we did was to book a consultation appointment with an immigration consultant. And the whole point of going to him was to say, okay, here's where we're at. This is how much money we have, this is how much money we don't have. This is how much education we have. How do we get to Canada? And it was very informative. It's him saying, okay, here's what your options are. You can go to school. After you go to school, you get a work permit to work, and then you apply for yourself to try and become a permanent resident. A company in Canada can also sponsor you and say, you know what, there's no other person in Canada that can do this job except for this person, and we want them. And then there is the provincial nominee program, which is similar to the sponsoring. So the province in Canada will sponsor you to come there because they don't have enough workers in that field. He, being a representative of several schools in Canada, said, you know what, your best bet right now is to go through school. You're young, you have an international based experience. You go to Canada, get some Canadian based education, you kind of get a foot into the door, right? So we did that. We said, all right, fine, let's apply to school. In fact, I was actually a little bit hesitant because I didn't think it was feasible at all. We had just finished university. My parents paid for all of that. And I didn't foresee them paying for more school for me. And I for sure didn't have any money to pay for school. Thousands of dollars to pay for school again. So I was like, I don't know. But my friend was way more positive and hopeful than I. And he was like, let's just do it. It's free to apply. So just apply and let's see what happens. Okay, fine, whatever, it's free. Applied for school and then went on the work and travel program again that summer. So the intent now is that we're moving to Canada in January and now we need to make as much money as possible on the work and travel program. And I mean, by the time we're on the work and travel program, we haven't heard if we have gotten into school yet. So we're just waiting. It's a waiting game now. We have applied, now we have to wait for acceptance. Finally get acceptance. I tell my aunt whom I would live with in Canada, and she says, you know, that school is by public transit about
3 hours away from where we live.
Not good in the winter. I'm like, okay, I get back to Jamaica in September, I'll figure it out in September. Bearing in mind, or not bearing in mind at the time, that the visa application process is 2 months. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's 2 months. I get back to Jamaica in September after the work and travel program, and now I'm applying to a school that is an hour closer, but still 2 hours away by bus in the snow. So Humber College is a little bit closer to where my aunt lived. I'm going to apply to Humber. I contact the immigration consultant, say, hey, I need to actually apply to Humber. So if you could just get that done for me really quick, that'd be great. Because I only have 3 months until school starts, technically, right? October, November, December, and school starts at the very beginning of January. Then wait to hear back from Humber. And it was a weeks past, and it was now October, and we hadn't heard back. So, you know, if you can imagine a little timer here, you know, a little hourglass, that the time to get approved for my visa and get to school on time is running out. My aunt got involved here and, called the school and be like, hey, what's going on with this application? They responded, and within a couple of days, I got my approval letter. Yay! Yes. So my journey to school is now only 2 hours, right? It's only 2 hours, one way. Now I need to apply for my visa. The first thing I did was pay at least half of my tuition, right? This shows the Canadian consulate that you're serious about going to school. You have some investment here that you're actually going to school. Pay half of the school fee, apply for my visa. Then it's just a wait. I get an email from them in like the end of October. Like probably the last week of October. Oh my gosh, super excited. Open it. Rejected. Your visa, Kristina, has been denied. I remember the day. I was at work in Falmouth, upstairs, facing the window, and my heart sunk. Like, why? Luckily, they say, well, this is why you've been rejected. Thank God. I did not attach my police record. Why didn't I attach my police record? My dad would say,
you don't like to read. Kevin would say, you don't like to read.
I would say, I'm going to school. Why do I need a police record? Right? That was legitimately my thinking in reading a checklist. They're like, get your passport, get you this, get you that, get a police certificate. I'm like, a police certificate? That sounds bizarre. I'm not gonna do that. Don't do that. Learn from this experience. Everything on the checklist that they ask for, you give it to them. Now, looking back, of course, it seems silly having gone through all these processes, but at the time I was just like, I don't need a police certificate. So I applied, got the police certificate, and I got denied. I had done the visa application myself. So at this point now I'm like, okay, the immigration consultant can apply for the visa for you. It just costs money. So as soon as I got that email, I emailed him. I'm like, dear sir, my visa application has been rejected. What do I have to do to get you to apply for my visa for me? He says, pay X amount of money, a couple $1,000s. So I go to the bank immediately, close my eyes, say, here, some money, put it in this account, please. And then come back and say, I paid you. Here is a transaction, same day. Now what do? He's like, well, I'm currently on vacation, so when I get back, I'll get it done. I'm like, great. In any case, the consulate had my passport. So there's nothing I can do until I have my passport back, because I need a passport to apply for my police certificate. So now I'm just waiting. And then the hourglass, remember the imaginary hourglass here? It's this much time left to get to school. And the thing is that when you don't get to school on time, you have to defer to the next semester. And I wasn't about that life. I was going in January, okay? Not in May, not in September, I was going in January. So forget it. I'm now waiting for my passport to come back. And I finally get it back. I go to do my police certificate. At the time, I was in Montego Bay. So I said, okay, fine. This morning, I'll get there early in the morning. I'll get there at 8 o'clock in the morning before the sun rises. Okay, the sun is risen, but I'll get there before anybody starts to form a line. I got to the front of the line, and I just noticed everybody had this piece of paper in their hand. I'm like, what is that paper that everybody has that I don't have? So I asked someone, I'm like, what's the process? This is after waiting in line for a little while, and I'm near the front of the line to get through. They're like, oh yeah, you have to go and pay for the police record at the tax office down the road. So I have to come out of the line, drive to the tax office, pay for that, and come back and join back the line. Go to the tax office, pay for it, come back, and I don't get squeezed in the front, but I kind of get a little easement, because by the time I got back, if anybody knows Montego Bay police station, it's like circular, and then you have a corridor, and then you have this step that comes from the parking lot. The line was in the parking lot. So it go around the circle, down the corridor, down the step and into the parking lot. And I was like, oh my God. So I went to my friend, Mr. Can you know? And I got a little bit of assistance with getting further to the front of the line, and I got through. So now it's the same day, I think, maybe. Or maybe I had to wait the next day to get back the police certificate. Got that back, sent it to my immigration consultant, and he applied for me. All right, so now I have 1.5 months until school starts. But remember, the visa application process is 2 months.
I am off to a really rocky start. Some of it self-inflicted, some of it was just things that I didn't even think about. Want to hear what happened next? See me on the next video.